Welcome in, friends, to another week and another sweet story. So let's get into the introduction. Every small southern town has its own kind of music, not the kind you hear on the radio, but the quiet rhythm of everyday life. In Chickpea Crossing, that music sounded like screen doors creaking open, church bells drifting across the valley, and neighbors calling out from porch to porch. And tucked inside that familiar melody were two teenagers who couldn't have been more different if they tried. One was quiet as the sunrise, the other bright as high noon. One spoke in whispers, the other in paragraphs. And yet, in the way only God can arrange, their paths were set to cross at just the right moment. So settle in, friends. Let's step into Chickpea Crossing and watch how the Lord brings two unlikely hearts into harmony, one gentle whisper and one joyful ramble at a time. This week's story is called Whispers and Paragraphs. In Chickpea Crossing, Wade Carter was known for being quieter than a church mouse during prayer. He wasn't unfriendly, just soft spoken, thoughtful, and happiest when tucked into the edges of a room. He liked fishing at dawn, reading old adventure books, and sitting on the back pew where nobody expected him to talk. Becky Jo Whitaker, on the other hand, could talk to a fixed post and make it feel appreciated. She was sunshine and sneakers, loud, bright, and always in motion. She had a story for everything, a question for everyone, and a laugh that could bounce off the mountain. They lived 3 streets apart, but might as well have lived in different worlds. At the Morning Glory Chapel youth picnic, Wade found his safe spot under a dogwood tree. He was halfway through his potato salad when Becky Jo spotted him. "Oh, good, someone's sitting still," she chirped, plopping down beside him. "I'm Becky Jo. You look like you need a friend, or at least someone to talk to you while you eat." Wade blinked twice. Becky Jo took that as encouragement. She told him about her mama's chickens, her cousin's disastrous haircut, and how she once glued her Bible study notes to her forehead. Wade didn't say much, but he listened, really listened, and that was enough to keep her going. The next day at school, Becky Jo marched right up to him. "Today's assignment, say one sentence to me." Wade managed. "Morning." "Perfect. Tomorrow 2 sentences." By Friday she added, "And no weather talk. That's cheating." Wade tried. He really did. But every time he opened his mouth, Becky Jo filled the silence with another story. And somehow, Wade found himself looking forward to it. One Wednesday night, the youth group shared favorite Bible verses. Becky Jo went first, naturally, and talked about Psalms 139 for a solid 5 minutes. Then it was Wade's turn. He stood, cleared his throat, and said, "Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpest iron, because some people help you be braver than you were before." He glanced at Becky Jo. For the first time in her life, Becky Jo Whitaker forgot how to talk. A week later, they walked home together after youth group. Becky Jo was mid-story about fireflies when she suddenly stopped. "Wade Carter, do you like me?" Wade turned red as a ripe tomato. He nodded. "Well, good," she said, linking her arm through his, "because I like you too. God must have known you needed someone to talk, and I needed someone to listen." Wade smiled, a big, real smile, and said, "That makes perfect sense." Becky Jo gasped. "That was a whole sentence with emotion in it." He shrugged. "You inspire me." And just like that, two very different teenagers found a rhythm that felt like home. And the reflection of this week's story is it something how God pairs people? Not always the way we expect, not always the way that makes sense on paper, but always in a way that grows us. Wade needed courage. Becky Jo needed stillness. And the Lord, in his gentle wisdom, let them sharpen one another. Their story reminds us that God uses all kinds of personalities, the quiet ones, the loud ones, the awkward ones, the joyful ones, to teach us more about love, patience, and grace. Sometimes the person who talks too much is exactly the one who helps us find our voice. And sometimes the quiet soul is the one who teaches us to listen for God's whisper. May we stay open to the unexpected friendships and gentle nudges God places in our path. You never know who He might use to help you grow. Thanks for listening to the story this week. Come back next week for another story.